We'll be back here tomorrow.
Amen.
So let's talk about not the news. The news will be bad today. It'll be bad tomorrow. It'll be bad next week. It'll be bad next year.
That's right.
There's always going to be bad news.
Yes.
But this is good news.
Amen.
And this is what we're supposed to be talking about. But for some reason, Doc, I've witnessed in my lifetime as a Christian the decline of American evangelical Christianity talking about the good news.
Right. They seem to be talking about everything else except the good news. They'll talk about politics. They'll talk about self-help. They'll talk about so many other things except what the gospel is all about. And the gospel is good news. And what is that good news? We can be saved from hell. That's the good news.
That's it. And the real fascination, I should say obsession with American evangelical Christians is the political state of Israel. And they have replaced the cross with the Star of David. They no longer teach Jesus Christ crucified and resurrected and coming back in glory. It's all about the nation of Israel. And this is not Christianity.
No.
If you were unsaved today and you turned on Christian television or you listened to Christian radio, you would think that Christianity was about getting Israel their land back.
Right.
That's what you would think Christianity is all about. That is not Christianity. And nowhere in the New Testament Bible, I'm talking about the New Testament, folks, the New Testament Bible, nowhere does it talk about that our focus is to make sure that the Zionist Jews get their land back before the end of the age.
What is the focus of the New Testament?
Salvation of souls. All souls. Jews, Arabs, Africans, Asians, Latinos, Caucasians. It's all about souls. Jesus Christ died on a cross. He went to the grave. He descended to the place of the dead. He rose from the grave. He ascended to heaven. He's coming back in glory. For what? Not so that the Zionists rule the world from Jerusalem, but so that He will rule the universe from New Jerusalem. That's the gospel, and it has been forgotten in this country because the gospel in America has been overthrown by Christian Zionism. And I'm declaring war on Christian Zionism. And I'm doing it right now. I'm declaring war on the lie of Christian Zionism. It is a cancer in the body of Christ today. And it has confused the minds of people that they think that all we're supposed to do is save the land for the people in Israel who don't care about Jesus and who are persecuting the Christians in the Middle East who love Jesus.
Right.
And this is insanity that this is going on every day in America, and hundreds of millions of dollars are being donated by Christians for Zionism. And yet there's no passion for winning souls of people who are lost and going to hell. That's what I'm concerned about. And something has happened to the church in America. It got co-opted. It got taken over. It got infiltrated about 20-some years ago. I watched it change, Doc. I saw it change in my lifetime.
It was a gradual change.
Yes, it was.
Change, little at a time. But it is not the same church as 20 and 30 years ago.
I got saved in 1978 and never heard anything about Israel in 1978. Nobody was talking about Israel. Nobody. I didn't hear a word. In the 80s, it was barely mentioned. You had to be around just certain, I would call them cultists, all right?
Right.
Who were into it. All the Christians I knew were talking about Jesus.
Right.
All right? Somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s, Christian Zionism took over Christian TV and Christian radio and Christian publishing. Somehow they got control. Christian Zionism got control. And they dominate the message right now. And somebody must rise up now and declare it to be a false message. It is a false doctrine. And we have to return to the doctrine of Christ crucified, coming back in glory. It has nothing to do with land. Nothing to do with land. Jesus' return is not dependent on anybody getting somebody else's land. It's all about Christ getting your soul. And we've got to get this message back on Christian television and Christian radio and in the pulpits again. Because isn't it interesting, Doc? The same years, all right, the secret pre-trib rapture story and Christian Zionism, that's a two-headed
monster.
Yeah. It's a two-headed freak monster, okay? They come together. Both of them come together because they were started by the same people. The Christian Zionists started the pre-trib rapture doctrine.
And this was seed planted decades ago, but it came into full fruit within the last 30 years.
They had to create the pre-trib rapture doctrine to justify Christian Zionism. That's where it all came from. But isn't it interesting that in the recent decades, where the American evangelical church has been taken over by Christian Zionism, that the American evangelical church has lost its flavor.
Yes.
It's lost its saltiness. It is of no use anymore to God in this country.
Right. In fact, things are worse off now than they were 30 years ago.
We've become a pagan nation.
We're Babylon.
We're Babylon, and it happened on the watch of the Christian Zionists. I'm laying it on your doorstep, Christian Zionists. You are the cause of America's decline.
Those are strong words,
They're
Rick.
strong words, and I mean it. They took control of the churches in America, the Christian Zionists. They changed the gospel. They took Jesus off the cross. They replaced the cross with the Star of David. They took the focus off God and holiness. They put it all on a piece of land in the Middle East. And America has gone to hell. America's gone to hell. We've become a pagan, heathen nation because the Christian Zionists have taken our eyes off Jesus.
Rick, is there a way back with this?
Yes, preach Jesus. Preach Jesus.
But are they willing to do that? Are they willing to do that?
I don't know.
Because it's going to require everything. It's going to require them to give up everything in order to preach Jesus.
Well, you got a lot of these Christian Zionists have too much money invested in this thing. This is a cash cow. It brings in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Both from donations from American Christians and also from Israel, too.
That's
Israel
right.
brings a lot of money into different groups and organizations
Money
that promote.
flows both ways.
And then that money from Israel, where does it come from? Israel's our number one aid nation.
That's right.
By the U.S. So it's all a giant circle.
And what people need to understand is that the Israelis have turned American Christian Zionists into propaganda tools in America. That's all you've become, a propaganda tool for the Israeli government.
So what's their ultimate goal, Rick?
Land.
How much land are we
All
talking
land.
about?
It's all about land. It's about taking all the land. Right now, the Israelis are seizing the bank accounts of Christian churches.
What?
The Israeli government is seizing the bank accounts of Christian churches in Jerusalem
How is this happening?
because they're now declaring that the churches are no longer tax exempt. The land that they're on is no longer tax exempt, and they have issued fines of millions of dollars. And when the churches said we don't have the money to pay it, they seized their bank accounts last week.
So walk me through this again. You're telling me that the Israeli government has removed the tax exempt status of
Christian churches that have been there for centuries and centuries and centuries.
And if they can't pay their tax bill,
They seized their bank account. We're talking about the Orthodox churches, all the various Catholic churches. There's more than just the Roman Catholic. All of the Orthodox churches of Jerusalem that have been there for centuries. They've had their tax exempt status taken away in recent days and their bank accounts frozen. Why is Israel doing it? Because they're moving in to take the land. Once President Trump gave the plum to the Christian Zionists and said, I'm going to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem.
That was
the green light to the Israelis. Go for it. Get everything. Squeeze everybody out of Jerusalem. And that includes the Christians.
So would you say that their goal is just the West Bank?
No.
What is their goal then?
All of old ancient Israel.
You mean the ancient Israel from Genesis chapter 15?
Everything. By the way, you just mentioned the West Bank, and I just read an article today in the Jerusalem Post where a Israeli member of the Knesset said, hey, momentum's on our side.
Yes.
Ever since President Trump sided with Israel, the momentum is on our side, and we need to nationalize the West Bank, because right now, the only law in the West Bank is military law.
Right, the IDF.
And so these members of the Knesset are saying, let's just go for it. Let's just claim it. Let's just put Israeli law there and just annex the West Bank, and we claim that we own it, and that's all there is to it. No more occupation, we own it.
And American evangelicals would applaud that.
They would applaud it. They want it to happen. And the American Christian Zionists, they would cheer for it, they would applaud it, they would defend it. They don't care how many Palestinian Christians lose their homes, their businesses, their
churches,
land, their churches. They don't care. You Christian Zionists, are you going to stand there and let Israel take control of Christian churches? Do you support it, Christian Zionists? I want to know right now. John Hagee, what is your position, John Hagee? Are you going to sit there and allow your friends in Israel to seize the churches in Jerusalem? I've had it up to here with Christian Zionists. I've fed up with it. You people have changed the gospel. You've changed the gospel. And these people in Israel are persecuting the Christians. And it needs to stop. And I'm going to defend the Christians. I am not going to turn a blind eye. I'm not going to look away. I'm not going to close my ears and say, I'm going to pretend it's not happening. No, it is happening, and I'm going to speak up in defense of my Christian brothers and sisters, because the plan of the Zionists is to chase off everybody from the Middle East until they own all of the land that they claim that is rightfully theirs, going back to Genesis.
And when they talk about that, they're talking about claiming the land all the way from Egypt, all the way north to Turkey, all the way over to half of Iraq, right?
That's right.
So not just a little strip of area the size of Delaware.
No, it's there. We got it on the screen right now. Okay, you can see that is a map of the Middle East right there, and what is shaded in, that would be the boundaries of Israel if they got back all of the land of ancient Israel.
Right. And that includes all of Jordan, all of Lebanon, most of Syria, half of Saudi Arabia, a third of Egypt, a little